For the MaxPreps Rivalry Series, I'm Alicia Powers, and I'm sitting down with Coach Grayson Howell. Coach, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Alicia. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
So this is your first year at Easley as a head coach. How has it been so far?
It's been good. I've been fortunate enough. I've been here since February, and most high school coaches don't have the opportunity to move mid-year. It happens all the time in college, but usually as a high school coach, you usually don't get to move until you finish your academic year at your school prior to. But the guy who preceded me here was able to leave and go, and so then I was able to come in February, and so it's been a great 7 months. It's been quick, and I've just really loved the experience so far.
What is it like to come into an organization like Easley and be the head coach?
It's fun. Because you've got so many people who want to be a part of what's going on. You've got people who are willing to help at every turn, but the community has been very welcoming to myself and my family, and really couldn't imagine really being anywhere else right now.
What are some challenges coming in as a new head coach?
Yeah, well, first of all, you don't know if you're any good at it. That's the first big challenge. You think you're ready, but as being an assistant, you always think you can do it a little bit better than whoever. But you find out there are a lot of moving pieces and a lot of moving parts, and dealing with parents and players and your staff and faculty, and there's just a lot to it. And like I said, you think you're prepared, but the biggest surprise for me has been the emotional and mental strain that it puts on you. When you're an assistant, you kind of have your area. You have your position that you coach, or if you're a coordinator, you're kind of in charge of just the offense or the defense. And the emotional strain of being the head coach, where you worry about it all, has been something that you can't prepare for until you sit in the seat of the head coach.
What are some of the things you did in February when you came here to pull your team together and get to know your players?
Sure. Well, the number one thing you have to do is start to build relationships. And when I came in, I'm a social studies teacher by trade, but Chad Smith, my predecessor, he was in the weight room. And so I was able to be in the weight room with our guys every day. And the weight room is where you find out about your guys. You find out who's willing to work and who's not, and you find out kind of what they're made of. And so one of the ways we did that, other than just lifting, is every day we had what we called a finisher, where after we did the actual workout, we would do a finishing activity that was just kind of off the wall or something, just to really stretch them and test and see where we were mentally and what our mental toughness looked like. And, just through doing all that, you begin to kind of just build those relationships and find out about your players.
Now the Green Wave is your team. What is this season's team like?
We're a work in progress, and we lost 10 starters on offense, and we lost 8 starters on defense, and so we're trying to figure that out. We're trying to figure out who we can count on and who we can depend on, and we are putting guys in situations that they've never been in. We have a lot of players who are starting now who have been part of the success that's been had over the last 3 years, but most of them haven't been counted on week to week, day to day. They've kind of been in the background and have been, like I said, a part of the success of going 29-9, but haven't been the guys that have really had to do the job on a Friday. And so they're finding out what that looks like. Just like I'm finding out what it's like to be the head coach, a lot of our players are finding out what it's like to be a starter and to be a guy that your coaches are really dependent on.
So you guys are working together a lot.
We are. We're trying to figure it out.
Now, again, this is your first year, so you haven't had the experience to coach for this Wren-Easley rivalry. What do you get out of the rivalry as of today, one day before the game?
Well, I don't, this is probably our third, it's really funny, this is our third rivalry game in 4 games. We opened the year with Pickens, who is our inter-county, inter-district rival, and so that had a big deal to it. And then 2 weeks ago, we played Daniel, who's also in our school district, so that's a big deal. And then we played Seneca last week, who's 25 miles down the road, and now we've got Wren that's 8 miles away. And so we ought to be used to it by now. But you never really know the ins and outs of a particular rivalry until you really get into game week. And I'm starting every day. It's begun to dawn on me a little more. about what it's like and what it means to our kids and what it means to our community. And our kids at practice yesterday were a little more ready to go, and as it's drawn closer. And I'm, did a radio show last night, and Coach Tate was right before me, and I was driving back from Clemson with my son, and so I listened to what Coach Tate had to say, and then, it's your turn, and it becomes more and more real as the week goes along.
Mm-hmm. So they just threw you right in this season.
I mean, here we go. Yeah.
What are you looking forward to tomorrow night?
I want our kids to have a great atmosphere to play in. I want our kids to be successful. You want them to be rewarded for their hard work. We lost just a really tough game last week, and you don't hate it for yourself. You really don't. All of us have egos, but deep down inside, you want what you ask your kids to do to pay off for them. That's what you're looking for, and when it doesn't, you just hurt for your team. To see the faces of our players last week when we lost 7-6 was it tears you up, because they're doing everything you're asking them to do, and you want it to pay off. You want them to be rewarded on Friday with a win, and so tomorrow night, I hope that happens for our guys. I hope it happens for our coaching staff and our fans and our community. But there's nothing better than a Friday night and a rivalry game where just the stands are packed, and they've got their student section, and they're doing their thing, and our student section is doing their thing. But you hope at the end of it all that you play your tail off, and the other team does the same, and then you shake hands after it's over, and then you go back to being friends.
Any last words before the big game tomorrow?
Go green and roll wave.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.